I want to thank the Limerick Tipperary wood owners for their submission. And I suppose the first point I'll make is that it shouldn't have taken this long to see a report, number one. This issue has dragged on and on and on, and I'm sure it's very frustrating for the organisation that we have here to be here for a fourth time. Now, I want to commend the chair, Jackie Cahill, who has given a huge amount of time to forestry, and that's certainly to be commended. However, we do need to work cross-party in a constructive manner to try and address this once and for all. And I'm just wondering, would it be possible to have a briefing, cross-party meeting or briefing with the minister responsible? Because it just can't go on. I mean, it is very frustrating and disappointing to see that the minister, hasn't, or the department haven't reached out to the people who were affected. Like, there's mention of a task force, and yet approximately 5 weeks after the report recommended that, there's been nobody in contact, as I understand, with the group. That's worrying, and I would ask for a meeting or briefing to be set up cross-party, because this committee does work very well and there's good consensus on these issues, and that's to be welcomed. I'm very concerned also. Look, I have many constituents who are affected directly by this problem, who are suffering huge financial losses. And we hear so much talk about biodiversity and protecting it in ecosystems, but what about the damage that's been done to habitats and ecosystems with this problem of ash dieback? I mean, where is the concern? There should be a lot more concern, I would feel, and certainly a lot more urgency. We need to see assistance given to the 6,000 people affected by this issue. And there has to be some form of a straightforward, common sense approach in terms of the removal of the ash dieback. I mean, it's posing to be a danger, and obviously, the ash is rotting away. It needs to be removed, and there has to be a common sense way found, a practical solution to this once and for all, and I call for that to be done today. And look, I have full support and indeed sympathy with the people who were affected, and I understand how frustrated they are and must be at this point in time. But there has to be also urgency given to this issue. It's dragged on and on. And there has to be urgency given to providing compensation to the affected people in order to restore confidence that has been badly shaken in our forestry sector. I mean, this is a sector that once supported 10,000 jobs. I understand that figure has now dropped to 8,000 employed in the sector, which again is worrying and poses questions. And it shows that there's damage being done. And I just feel that there has to be a sense of urgency, and certainly I would be behind the proposal of meeting the minister. I know the minister has been in here a number of times, but I think it needs to happen again, and we just need to see urgency on this issue. Garv Magad.
Thanks, Deputy. I don't know if there's any question in there for the witnesses. With regards to your request...
Comments more so than questions, I suppose.
With regards to your request for the briefing from the minister, I suppose as a committee we'll probably discuss that at a private meeting as to send a request on behalf
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Simply this: we need action now, today, not tomorrow, not next week. We've been waiting for 5 years. This is our fourth, and I hope it's our last time here. I mean, it's lovely to come up here, but it's wasting our time.
So we're not that bad.
But we need action now. We have a minister who lacks leadership, lacks passion about something that is so important to this country. We're at 11%, probably down to 10% now with the loss of ash. And we are committed to 18% by 2030. And just imagine when that time comes, Europe won't think twice about imposing a massive penalty on us. And that's okay. The minister is prepared to pay that. But we are suffering as a result. We were ready to take out our trees at the beginning of the summer when the weather was dry. It's now raining, and the terrain is impossible to work on. Trees are actually dying, and a threat to all of us who work on it. And we're not allowed to do it. We have to apply for a licence that could take, and I'm not applying for a licence because it could take me years to get it. We got our permission to plant 30 years ago, having done research and, based on the promotion by the then government, we went ahead as being a blue chip investment, that we would have something to provide for ourselves in retirement, something to pass on to our children. Now there is nothing. There is nothing, only a dead plantation, that we are left high and dry. We don't have the money to reinvest, to put after, you know, good money after bad. I know we took the premiums, but that was at the, you know, a lot of it came from Europe at that time. But there is just a lack of passion and leadership. And you talk about the environment. The Minister talks about wetting bogland. You fly over the centre of Ireland, it's all exposed bogland. There is no sphagnum moss there to sequester carbon. And the carbon is being released all the time from that open bogland. It's absolute nonsense.
I'd just like to say that I'm absolutely mystified by the resistance of the Minister and the Department to respond to the problem with the ash dieback. In a sense, we're almost like the canary in the coal mine, in that we are at the vanguard, the first within forestry to be affected seriously by disease. And the poor response, the lack of a response to our circumstances should be extremely worrying for anybody who's thinking about going into farming. And I think the Minister may not fully appreciate the impact on the confidence that her failure to address, or both ministers' failure to address what's happening in ash dieback will have. We, you know, historically we had Dutch elm disease came in, unbelievably eliminated all the trees. Then we had ash dieback, and we looked around and we said, it's impossible to imagine that every ash in the country more or less is going to be dead. Now, we've been meeting about this for years, and our concerns have been ignored. Now we are in a situation where we're looking at a new afforestation programme. There is the noise about the bark beetle, which is a real risk to the remaining spruce within this country. And again, the department are blind to the risks, ignoring the potential risks, thinking that monitoring is some kind of form of prevention, monitoring bark trees that are coming in from Scotland, that country that has it. So how can anybody think about planting trees going forward when they look at us in the ash dieback and the negligence and the ill treatment that we have suffered? And I suppose Deputy Fitzmaurice wondered why what's going to happen now. Well, I think actually our position, we are not going away. And yes, we're extremely frustrated by the lack of action, but we're not giving up on this campaign. And anybody who asks me, or anybody I know who has ash, should they plant, I will be definitely saying no. The department will make you responsible, will tie your hands, and then you're unable to do anything about it, and then it's your fault and your problem. And that's actually been written. That's part of the new afforestation. It is now part of ours. So I am mystified as to why the department does not recognise the writing on the wall that this has for any future forestry programmes. The other thing I'd just like to say, Deputy Fitzmaurice mentioned about what would we like to plant if we were to replant. Well, I'll speak from my own circumstances. I planted spruce and ash. In my naivety at the time, I didn't realise that ash was such a valuable crop, but my forester told me, no, my land wasn't good enough for oak. So I have 1 acre of oak and the rest is ash. Now, my ash are dead. So when it comes to, but I planted ash as a commercial crop, right? So I can't imagine what I'm going to plant except for spruce that will return my land to some sort of commercial use. I mean, it was deemed that ash was the only, if you like, hardwood that would grow on it. So it's useless to me to go planting oak because it wouldn't be the right tree in the right place. So for many of us, I think spruce would be what we might consider replanting in the future. But everybody is different, as Simon has said. So for some people, a return to farmland, depending on their circumstances. What you can actually grow on land that has been destroyed by ash, again, is a question. So I suppose, we're not going to be giving up this campaign. If we have to come back again, we will come back again, and we will be. Our views will be heard. And I would urge the Minister to take heed of us and think on as to the consequences for future afforestation by ignoring us. That's what I.